Morning. Good morning, New Hampshire. Good morning, Maine. Seacoast of New Hampshire up into Maine. Good morning, Lakes region. We have you covered and blanketed there. New extra FM signals in addition to our AM and FM network of stations in Lakes region, 98.3 FM, HD2. Seacoast, we have a new FM signal for you on top of, or in addition to, WTSN, AM and FM, 1270 AM, 98.1 FM, 98.7 FM. And of course, 1077. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Google, play the Pulse of NH this morning. J Dog, we're going to get to the haze and the smoke out there in a moment. First, though, our poll question up on X this morning, J Dog. And it's a good one because one of our subjects this morning is what is going on inside President Trump's inner circle of confidants, with Elon Musk now moving on from Doge, but sort of going rogue now on the big, beautiful bill and trying to co-opt some Republicans to vote against it as is without more spending cuts. And we're going to get into this because the White House is standing by the bill, and it's not Democrats. It's not Chuck Schumer. It's not other folks. It's Elon Musk stirring it up, even threatening some Republicans who vote, if they vote for it in their midterm elections. You know how he likes to spend some money in those races. So Musk stirring it up, maybe misses the limelight. Who knows? We'll come back to that. But our poll question up on X at the Pulse of an H. Now, do you think this big, beautiful bill in some format is going to pass Congress, the Republicans, because Democrats aren't going to vote for any of it? Yes or no? Do you think the big, beautiful bill will pass? Yes or no? Do you think it will pass? Yes or no? Now, we have great insight on this because coming up in a little bit, John Decker, our own White House correspondent, he's covering this front and center, will give us the latest on this big, beautiful bill process in the Senate, as well as President Trump and Elon Musk. Good friends, good buddies. But right now, I'm sure there's some pens or plates being thrown inside the Oval Office. All right. We have a lot going on. J-Dog, I just was commenting on the smoke out there. So today, as we get into warmer weather today and tomorrow, today, if you looked at the forecast 3 or 4 days ago, Wednesday was complete. It was all sun, beautiful, just a sunny ball all day, mid-80s. Right now, we'll be lucky to see the sun today, thanks to the Canadian wildfires. I don't know if they know how to fight fires up there, or if it has anything to do with the tariff and trade stuff. Ha, ha, ha. Canada, wildfires, not new phenomenon, but we are looking at haze, bad air quality, J-Dog, just haze and smoke out there. That's what this is from. So we may not see the sun today, even with the warmer temperatures, dog. And you can almost, I don't enjoy it. You can almost feel it and sense it in the air. And that's this morning. Dog. Wait till about 2 o'clock this afternoon. Hey, before I forget, I want to mention this. I have a really cool segment coming up today, and they sent us this book, a photo history of the whole Lionel train story. Oh yeah, you know what? Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. We're on YouTube now. I forgot people are watching. There you go. If you're watching live on YouTube, our YouTube channel, first hour of the show, weekdays at the Pulse of an H. We're on YouTube. There you go. Lionel Trades. J-Dog, this is a hardcover, beautiful dining room table, coffee table book. Yeah, we've got a great interview coming up, and there's an event this weekend. But the whole Lionel train story, Joshua Lionel Cowan, he used to make electric novelties, and then we're going to learn more about it. How about that? But you don't know this, J-Dog. My grandfather, Heath, gave to me as a Christmas present a Lionel train set before I was 10 years old. And this is a funny story. So when we got blessed with a little guy in our life from one of our kids, I guess that would be called grand kid. Guess what? I'd always kept it, because one thing about me, my grandfather gave me 2 things growing up. And it's kind of funny because if you live in the seacoast or you're anywhere near Portsmouth and you see those tugboats and you see the big tankers coming in, like the Sprague energy tankers carrying some, natural gas or propane or the sand and salt, the big tankers. He also gave me a big Texaco, like ocean tanker for the bathtub that I still have. But I kept them in all the original box, the Lionel train. So I gave them to my grandkid. It works great. their metal tracks. The cars I protected, I kept them all. The train tracks, the little electric, the switch when you plug it in and you turn on the trains. And my son-in-law is kind of an engineering type talented person, so he fixed up the wiring. And the Lionel train, which you're talking more than a half century, is still running and working great. We're going to hear from Roger Karp, the author, the book, the hardcover book, and we'll tell you why what's happening this weekend if you're a Lionel train fan. Some of the other stories this morning, we have an absolutely packed show for you, so it's a great Wednesday program for you. This is Good Morning New Hampshire, the pulse of NH 9 to noon. In the next hour, we continue our discussion, bringing back the trades, our friends from New Hampshire Technical Institute and we are continuing banging that drum, beating that drum, because that's where the growth is in our higher ed system of colleges in New Hampshire and employment. And a little bit later on, we're also going to update you on real estate and home building in the Lakes region. The great Jesse Lindell from Outside In Building Construction is going to be updating us on real estate, something I'm still scratching my head at trying to understand here. So we have a full show for you. Our own White House correspondent coming up, John Decker. But this is, I want to get back to what I was talking about, this, the big, beautiful bill. This is rather remarkable because you have Elon Musk, and I'll be very candid on this. It's been a fascinating chapter for me to learn about some people in this country when you look at how many, let's just say, progressive Democrats became unhinged, like they were foraging on some bad mushrooms in the forest, like some bad political trip. They became unhinged. I mean, I still think of the nut job. I'm sorry, I don't know however else to put it, but the alleged the alleged Tesla keying suspect at the Mount Washington Hotel at Bretton Woods, broad daylight. They get this guy wearing kind of like, believe it or not, orange slacks, very recognizable baseball cap. You didn't know. A lot of these people didn't know when they became unhinged and they decided to hate the guy who gave them electric cars, Elon Musk, because of the Doge stuff. There's so many hypocrisies here, and you wonder why the National Democrat Party is not making gains. But the guy at the Mount Washington Hotel from Massachusetts, right on video, keys this Tesla. Local police, the Mount Washington Hotel security is excellent. Twin Mountain Police, they tell the guy they got him, they caught him. But, all those people, when Musk came in to do the Doge cutting, and then they have their rallies like in Portsmouth Market Square, hands off our federal employees, when they were identifying probationary workers and what percentage of the federal workforce could be curtailed, terminated, eliminated, bought out, you name it. People going nuts. King Teslas, they grew to despise and hate Musk, almost more than President Trump at the time. And the thing that I thought was highly ironic and hypocritical and maybe comical is the number of total federal jobs that Doge and the Department of Government Efficiency, which now Speaker Johnson, they're going to act on some of those cuts as part of the spending bill process, which now is muddled up and Musk has sort of gone rogue. The percentage of federal workers, or everyone's saying, keep your hands off our federal workers, is minuscule compared to the almost 400,000 federal workers that a Democrat president bought out, laid off, probationary, terminated or fired and eliminated. Almost 400,000 federal jobs. His name was Bill Clinton, two-term Democrat president. He didn't invent the vehicle, so there's nothing to key or disfigure. Remember how just people going crazy on Tesla and trying to hurt Tesla as a way of hurting Musk? Keep your hands off our federal employees. And they didn't even end up cutting, not even a quarter of the number that Clinton did. It's just mind-boggling to me. And you look at the number of federal workers, you're telling me that we couldn't cut it back. This is just hilarious. But anyway, Musk became the bad guy in the Trump administration, invited into cabinet meetings, and everyone's jumping up and down. This person's not even elected, and he's doing all this, even though he's appointed by a duly elected president. And the same people that were saying he wasn't elected don't know that the staffs of U.S. senators are not elected, and they're writing actual laws and legislation that lawmakers vote on without reading that affect your lives. They're not elected either. But, Musk, he's not elected, which had nothing to do with the argument. But they don't like him because it was Musk and Trump. Let's just be honest. They don't like him. So what the point is now, Elon Musk has moved on. As I said, eventually he'd get bored and want to get back to building better spaceships for travel or, bring back the losses of his Tesla and his other that make him the wealthiest guy on earth. The He's not happy with this big beautiful bill, and it's kind of ironic because of all people, of all confidants or Trump folks inside that circle, Elon Musk was sort of inseparable. Cabinet meetings, close with the president, close with the Doge stuff, traveling with the president. I think Musk accompanied, correct me if I'm wrong, when President Trump did the unprecedented Middle Eastern swing through starting in Saudi Arabia. I think Musk went with him, talking about trade, very close. And now he's become a big critic. And Trump wants the bill to pass. Speaker Johnson wants it to pass. The Senate's going to carve it up and change it. But it's just ironic because it's Musk who is rallying people like Representative Margie Taylor Greene, who's probably the most loyal Trump confidant, to say that she doesn't like it either. We need more spending cuts because of the debt. Now, the ironic thing is, I don't know who's right, but we do have a looming $37 trillion debt. And you might want to know this. Social Security in 7 years, as we know it, will be upside down. So you might get a 20% haircut on your Social Security benefits. We have to deal with the debt. And Musk is saying this is a bad bill for the debt. And it's the last thing President Trump wants to hear at a time he wants passage of whatever this Senate does with the bill, the big, beautiful bill, as President Trump calls it, and the House to concur to pass this summer or before July 4th. They want this done. They want this done before July 4th. The big, beautiful bill, the big tax and spending bill, tax cut. I'm sorry, big tax cut. And it is a tax cut bill. Make no mistake about it. It cuts taxes. It's a huge tax cutting bill. The stuff that Musk doesn't like is some of the spending in it, saying we'll add more than $1 trillion to our debt. Now, again, the politics of this are amazing because Caroline Leavitt of New Hampshire, of course, the White House press secretary, has already been asked about this and, just saying Elon Musk did a good job with Doge. He's moved on, but President Trump still likes the bill. Not getting into but if Musk wants to really make a stink here, it's very uncomfortable, I imagine, for the Trump Oval Office. They're probably hitting more of the Diet Coke button on the desk or the Trump White House because it's Elon Musk, a true confidant and loyalist to President Trump. So this is going to be an interesting one. I don't know if they can allow it. I thought the media was hyping this up more than it was. But when Elon Musk did say, I guess, in the last 12 or 24 hours that he'd even spend money in districts if members of Congress voted for the bill as is without cutting spending, he would spend some money to kind of help them. Is Republicans get defeated. So President Trump doesn't want this to continue with Elon Musk because he's been a true confidant, and you're not going to start. I don't think you're going to see Caroline Leavitt and the Trump team throwing Musk completely under the bus, even if they want to. Some commentary, 603-228-2080. Hey, Alexa, hey, Google, play the Pulse of an H. John Decker, our own White House correspondent, around the corner on everything I was just talking about next. Well, each year for how many years, J Dog, we've been doing our annual caring and sharing food drive. This year, we're doing it a little differently at Stonebridge Country Club. Win a golf tournament, but gather foods over on the seacoast. And we've been doing this for years. And last year, I think we supported 24 area food pantries, and I learned 26. I apologize. And gather the folks in Portsmouth. It's one of the longest serving. My eyes were opened even last year at a time when arguably the economy was seemingly pretty good, at the number of families that really depend on a warm meal more than often several nights a week for their families with the cost of inflation and food. And we're going to bring in Patty with the Gather Development or Gather the Food folks, and they have a big effort coming up, Fill the Hall. And she's a little bit early this morning, so we'll take Patty before our White House correspondent John Decker on the so-called Big Beautiful Bill and the politics around it. Patty, thanks for being with us. I'm gonna try and say the last name. Is it Artizzoni or Zani? Artizzoni, cool name. Well, Gather is certainly in a noble, huge, wonderful effort. And before we talk about Fill the Hall, tell us, for people not familiar in the Seacoast area, how many years, what Gather is, what they do, who they are, how many people they help. Take it away. Right. Now, let me ask you, Patty, how many years have you been with Gather? Cool. What brings you to the mission and the purpose that you do? What is it that drives you? Right. Right. Are you looking for volunteers, supporters, or both, or all of the above? Right. Right. Wow. Now, Patty, before I let you go, in our annual effort to raise our support these 26 area nonprofits and food pantries across our region up into Maine, I think of the couple from Somersworth, J Dog, that came in. They're married, but they've been running that food pantry in Somersworth. They were a delightful couple, and they educated me because you don't the face of food insecurity, the face of those hungry among us, and you mentioned those who may need it. I think we tend to think the stereotype might be a person who lives alone. They might be older. They might not be eating a couple meals a day. They might be on fixed income. But what the couple in Somersworth told me is the number of young couples or single parents with two or three people in the household, and they'll come by on a Tuesday and a Thursday night for 4 or 5 warm meals, and that's their only source of getting a good dinner for their family because they can't afford the groceries without inflation. So the face of food needs is more profound. How many people, Patty, does Gather service in a given year? Would you estimate? Wow, it's a big number. That's a big number. Right. Oh, it's a and look how expensive it is. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to get in the grocery store, especially with more than one person in your house for under 150 or closer to 200 bucks. Patty, before I let you go, website, what's coming up, how people can help with Gather coming up again. You're moving. It's a great move. I'd love to get you again back again soon. How can people follow up and help you? Awesome. All right, Patty, thank you for helping. We'll get you back. Gather is a wonderful effort. Check them out. Thank you, Patty. All right, come back. Our own White House correspondent, John Decker, next on the politics in and around, including inside the Trump inner circle on the big, beautiful bill. Next. Well, John Decker, our own White House correspondent on this Wednesday. John, when I, I think it was Monday or Tuesday when I first started to hear and see signs, Elon Musk moving on from the Doge stuff, praises from the White House, praises from President Trump. And then I started to hear some criticisms on the big, beautiful bill on the spending side. And then things were quiet. Now I'm hearing it ratchet up a little bit. This is a tough one, even for New Hampshire's own Caroline Levitt or the Trump White House, because Elon Musk is a critical part of the president's election to the second term support, all the early stuff. I think they traveled to Saudi Arabia together as part of the Middle Eastern trip, very close confidant. And now he's kind of being a little more than a thorn in the side of the Trump White House wanting a bill to pass Congress before July 4th. John Decker, take it away. Right. And it's really from a messaging marketing point of view or political point of view, it's a tough one for the Trump Oval Office because yesterday, when Rand Paul, the senator from Kentucky, was questioning the stuff, you heard the president. I think it might have been you might have been there. I don't know. White House correspondent John Decker, basically, trash the senator from Kentucky. Mr. Trump not happy about the criticism on his bill, and was quick to say some less than flattering things about Rand Paul. Could this could what could do you think this could happen with the Musk situation where the president will start identifying those who are going against his agenda, but it's Elon Musk and the two have been sort of politically inseparable. But where do you think this goes? Because I would think that the White House would want to calm this down very quickly. But and I don't think they want to see Elon Musk every 3 or 4 days going to social media on X blasting the bill. So how do they get him on board? Good stuff. Thank you, John Decker. It's just rather dynamic. Our own White House correspondent on this Wednesday. Thank you, John. Coming up in a little bit, we are going to be updating you on some of the other news talk. Hopefully, we're going to see more sun today poking through, not the clouds, but the haze and smoke from the Canadian wildfires. And there are many. And you almost have to do a separate, search on what is going on with the Canadian wildfires. This is not a new phenomenon here in New Hampshire, Maine, and New England where we get the smoke and the haze, but there are multiple. I mean, Canada, Canada's a big country physically. It's a big place. They have multiple of these Canadian wildfires, and whether it's caused initially from drought conditions, rural areas where these fires, once they start, they just can't get to them, or just an inability to manage. But this is pretty serious. So today was, I mean, if you looked at the forecast on Sunday, Monday, when you were aching for some heat and some sunshine after the sweatshirt, sweatpants, maybe sweater and blanket weekend we had with the weather, today was a 10. Sunshine, mid 80s, beautiful day, what we've been playing for and hoping for in June. Well, now we're going to see a lot of haze and smoke, and tomorrow is going to be even warmer, J Dog. Mid to upper 80s tomorrow, maybe a thunder boomer in the afternoon. But this smoke and haze now, not to sound like an expert on the flow or transmission of haze and smoke from Canada with the wildfires, but I think what I heard from an expert this morning, or someone who's more expert than myself, the western part of New Hampshire, you probably see more of it. But here in the capital, here you go. Look out the window, J Dog. You even felt it walking in. Seacoast, maybe a little less towards the ocean, but that's the reality of it. So the Canadians, boy, they must be mad. They must be upset with us over the trade stuff because there's our poll question yesterday. And actually, I don't know if we got the answer to the results. We'll get it in a minute. But we asked you, speaking of Canadian tourism, are we going to see fewer Canadian tourists in Maine and New Hampshire on the coast or just in the Lakes region in New Hampshire and Maine from places like Quebec this summer because of the trade stuff? Yes or no? J Dog will give you an answer. I think it's 50-50 best, J Dog. That's an accurate poll survey because I think we're still going to see plenty of money from Canada. They're not great tippers, by the way. They're not great hospitality tippers. That's just true. Sorry. So I don't know if the smoke and the haze here, the Canadian wildfires, if they're exporting, I don't know if we can put a tariff on this haze and smoke if they're exporting the smoke and haze into our area here, but it's just been a dynamic reality of neighboring Canada. But this is not a new thing, but it's just sort of right now, today and tomorrow. All right, hey Alexa, hey Google, play the pulse. Coming up a little bit later on, we got the folks behind a wonderful book. I got to be honest, since I began the show, someone tells me that I have multiple attention points here or capabilities, but I've been looking at this wonderful hardcover book on the Lionel Train story and written by Robert Karp. And it's if anyone out there has had when you're a kid and your family, uncle, grandparents, someone gave to you a Lionel train, they were apart. And when you look at the book, what I love about it, when I saw this at the World War II Museum, the Wright Museum in Wolfboro, is where they have World War II stuff, actually tanks and everything from World War II, clothing and apparel. When you look at the Lionel book, and we're going to hear from the author this morning in the 11 o'clock hour, Roger Karp, it reflects Americana at the time. The advertisements for Lionel trains, the families, what people wore. There's a great Christmas picture of the family and the brothers around the Christmas tree. And back then, when people went to a Christmas party, even in their own family, um, the women were wearing dresses and dressed up, and the men were wearing suit and ties. I mean, heck, J Dog, wasn't long ago. If you watch some of the golf tournaments and you look at I don't know about Ben Hogan, but some of the early players or tennis tournaments, professional, they competed wearing a shirt and tie. Can you imagine a U.S. Open final? But the golfers would wear a shirt and tie, tennis players, and these pictures of the American workplace, the families. If you look at and you know what struck me too, J Dog, is the pricing. I'll show you some pictures, J Dog, of ads from like 1960 and the prices of things, and they list the pricing, and $8, $10. I mean, it makes you realize you almost. Sometimes I'd rather go backwards than forwards, but a beautiful book. We're going to look forward to the interview on the New Hampshire Connection. All right. Top of the 10 o'clock. We're bringing back the trades. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Google. Play the pulse of NH. Some commentary um, on veterans on healthcare. I continue to jump into this area because it's just very frustrating when you can see some obvious fixes. And what is disconcerting to me, and probably one of the most glaring examples, other than a story, it's just in the news of a National Guard member in another state or a veteran who killed his three daughters, and you hear these stories. Mental health, mental illness, mental health is a problem across our population, obviously. Um, but yet people don't want to really address it front, head on. We dance around it. We avoid it. We don't want to talk about depression, anxiety. People don't want to talk. It's a depressing subject, right? And the number of veterans who will take their own lives once every 8 days in our region, and we don't hear about it unless we know that person. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is one of the most painful examples in New England history was in Lewiston, Auburn, Maine, when the killer there went on that shooting spree, and they eventually got him in the area. But it was just terrible to Lewiston, Auburn. And I don't know. I have a brother-in-law who knew a couple of the people, and he said it just will be a permanent sort of hole or reality in that Lewiston, Auburn area. But the point is mental illness, and the family of that person who became a killer said that he was. I mean, they were trying to get police and officials and healthcare officials. They knew that he was getting worse mentally. Even if you went back and looked at some of the interviews within the, I believe it was Army, it was pretty well forecasted that he was dealing with a decline in mental health. So you don't have to be a veteran to have mental health issues, but if we don't deal with it, look at the pain that happens around this stuff if you don't deal with mental health. And it frustrates me that many of the therapies that work, that are effective, because all a pill will do is numb the pain. And veterans are be given, we had on I make 12 hours count for veterans count part of Easter SEALs in May. We had Navy SEALs and other veterans, combat operators who were dealing with depression, saying that the federal health system, the VA, was wanting to give them opioids. And all that does is numb the reality of your depression and anxiety and PTSD so you can sleep, like drinking a bottle of whiskey. And all that does is spark and cause addiction. So I look at obvious fixes, and one of the obvious fixes for veterans in New Hampshire, and we have I don't know if you know this, and I've saying it for years, so if you listen, you may know this. We appreciate that on my show, Good Morning New Hampshire, the Pulse of an H. Good morning, New England. Good morning, worldwide. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Google, play the Pulse of an H. But we have a very high per capita veteran population, more than about 10% or more in a state of 1.3 million people. So do the math. We have a very high, and we just in the last few weeks received a ranking nationally. We're the third most veteran-friendly state of former military people to move to live, whether they're transitioning or retiring. But we're still not doing good enough. And the therapies that are working largely lie in the nonprofit world. They're not in the federal healthcare system. They're in the nonprofit world. And there's a wonderful reality coming this summer that's starting in Franklin, New Hampshire, which is really a creation of the state and former Governor Chris Sununu, Kelly Ayotte supportive, but Easter SEALs, Maureen Beauregard, Phil and Julie Taub with Swim with a Mission, become one of our top veteran advocate organizations, really, that supports veterans across the board, not just Navy SEALs and their families and the Navy SEAL Museum, but Maureen and Phil and Governor Ayotte and others leading the way in Franklin. That's going to become a campus of a lot of these nonprofits that work. But all around us are these nonprofits, and problem is they're not on one page. They're not on one place. And the veterans and their family don't know that these services are available. Many of the nonprofits are addressing mental health. They are addressing the PTSD. They are addressing it with therapies that work, not a pill, not an opioid. They're dealing with therapies that work. Hero pups, Delta dogs, canines, horse equine therapy, other kind of meditative stuff, camping, fishing, working with the veteran to get into those chambers and those pockets that deal with the the closed stress and anxiety and all the things from service and post-traumatic stress and the triggers. And yet one hand isn't talking to the other. So that's one thing. The other thing in New Hampshire that is amazing, and Tom Raffio, one of our great, great partners and sponsors out there and friends, and I do a lot with Tom on and off the show because I just can't do enough to kind of get in his energy zone to make positive change. But his board at Northeast Delta Dental and the team of dentists own veteran practices in New Hampshire. These are full-blown orthodontist type practices led by Dr. Mitch Correa and Tom. They're providing oral health surgeries for veterans because the federal health system doesn't cover that. Above the neck, your head surgery, that's not covered at all. You have to either be a POW, which how many veterans are POWs, prisoner of wars? And they tell me it's a congressional glitch that can be fixed, but I've been hearing this for years. So why isn't, usually when I hear the word glitch, it doesn't sound major to me. It sounds fixable. Glitch is like a little glitch in our communication, a little glitch in our live broadcast, a little glitch in life is a little hiccup. I'm told for years now it's a congressional glitch. Why the hell isn't fixed? We have a delegation that's fairly effective and instrumental and influential. Why isn't that glitch fixed? And it's not even a question of money. Even though we have a debt that's out of control, there's enough money in the system. Why is there not a fleet of oral health surgeons at the VA for a veteran to go if they get that, they have a infection or need gum or, oral health surgery. It's not a cosmetic thing. It's a life or death thing. Why it takes Tom Raffio and the Delta Dental Board to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, which they do for the community, for the veterans. But if they weren't doing this, and how many, I can't even count now. I've lost count. That's a wonderful thing to say, but it's also sad. I've lost count over the last number of years where Tom has shared with me, Jack, great story. Someone was listening to your show. They called me. And by the way, Tom gives out his number all the time at Delta Dental, Northeast Delta Dental, 603-223-1300. If you have an impacted tooth or root canal surgery and you're suffering like a bad back, when you have an infection in your head, it's tough to function. It's tough to go to the grocery store. It's tough to be pleasant. It's tough to live, and it can kill you. 223-1300. Tom he calls his dental practice. The practice is out there. Dr. Mitch Correa. Next thing you know, I've heard, how many veterans have I heard from? Within a day, Jack, I was scheduled, and after trying for weeks and months and getting nowhere, within 48 hours, I had the surgery and I was home and I'm better, and I don't know how to thank you. I don't know how to thank you. Well, don't thank me. Thank Dr. Mitch Correa and Tom and his team and his board. But why do we have to go to that measure to get that covered? What the hell's a congressional glitch? Still trying to look that one up. Congressional glitch, Jack. Got to be patient. That's years ago. I'm on my patience. I get very impatient after years of BS and no action, and it can be fixed, especially when it can be fixed. When a problem can't be fixed, I'll be patient. If you tell me there's nothing you can do, I don't usually believe that. But if you tell me there's nothing we can do, it's just the way it is, fine. But why is all the other federal health stuff covered, or someone else who's not even a veteran get this covered? And for veterans, they don't have oral health surgical services covered in New Hampshire in June of 2025? What the heck is that about? And I've been saying, okay, we'll do it our way. Hundreds and millions of dollars we've been able to do this entrepreneurially, out of the box, through this network. And I've been doing it for years quietly with Tom. Quietly. It's not about me getting the credit or Tom. They're doing it. Dr. Mitch Correa, give them the credit. But we've been doing this quietly to save lives, really, to support our veterans that need it. But why? Where's the delegation? Why isn't this congressional glitch fixed? And then it's covered through the VA. And it's not really the men and women at the VA in Manchester. Don't get mad at them. They don't set the policies. A congressional glitch? What the hell's that? All right, we're bringing back the trades next. Our friends from New Hampshire Technical Institute on Good Morning New Hampshire, the pulse of New Hampshire.